was trying to work out this morning why I didn't mind reading at primary school. I didn't love it, but I didn't mind it, and if I had to, I'd read a book. And I think it had something to do with a publication called Storyteller, and I'm really hoping that someone else has heard of it apart from me. It came out, I think, on a weekly basis in the early 1980s, and I definitely read it whenever I was about 6 years old, perhaps even 5 years old when it came out, and I don't know how long it went on for, but it was several years, maybe up until I was about P4, P5, and I really looked forward to getting it. So it was just this publication with 5 or 6 different illustrated stories in it and a cassette tape, and on that cassette tape you would have someone narrate the story to you. Hardly groundbreaking, it's just a simple read-along. Now, the celebrities would read with that kind of Jackanory voice, which would make it sound very professional and you'd want to keep listening to the story, but at the same time, you're trying your best to keep up with it. Now, up until today, I thought I was always successfully keeping up with it. But on YouTube, I typed in Storyteller 1980s and I was able to see a few pictures from Storyteller, and I realized, no, if I was 5 or 6 years old, there's no way I was keeping up with all those words. But I was being convinced that I was reading. And obviously, along the way, I became more capable as a reader and perhaps by the end was able to keep up with everything, and maybe by that stage you felt you'd grown out of it. And so many parents today are trying to see if reading to their children will work, or getting their children to read to them will work, or sending them away by themselves to read will work. But Storyteller was kind of a mix of all that. For most of you, you know what it's like. Your child simply doesn't want to read to you, and your child doesn't want you to read to them. Having someone else read the story to them is obviously advantageous, especially if they're very good at narrating, especially if they are a professional. And so I'd be interested in hearing from parents if you've managed to come across today's version of Storyteller, something you've seen online or something you are buying in the shops, a physical copy of something that narrates a story to your child. But even if a reading scheme like that does exist today, I'm guessing there's still plenty of parents out there who have kids that will not be convinced to take part in some kind of read-along scheme. So what can you do instead to help your child with their reading without them even noticing it? Subtitles. If you go online and look for Turn the Subtitles On, and probably some of you have already heard of that, I think it was a scheme started a year or two ago to try to encourage children to become better readers. It's simply this: many children are going to be more interested in watching TV shows or watching something on their tablet device, something through Netflix, for example. Well, why not make the deal with your child, if they are going to be watching those things from now on, watch with the subtitles on. Yes, they'll still probably just be watching the cartoon or the live action, they'll be looking at the faces, they'll be looking at the drawings, they'll be looking at the animations. But after a while, or from time to time during a show, their eyes will slip down and start looking at the words. And 1 or 2 children might be tempted to follow along with the words. I'm a kind of person who still watches shows with the subtitles on because I find it hard to make out every word that somebody is saying in the TV show. And for some kids then, they also might be feeling the same way. They might not be able to pick out every word that they're hearing, and if the subtitles are on, they'll be able to see those words. And some kids might tend towards looking at the subtitles instead, not realizing that they're reading while they're relaxing.